Chosen one, you didn't land here by mistake. This moment was marked for you. Out of all the messages you could have seen, this is the one that found you. Why? Because you're not just scrolling, you're being summoned. There is something stirring inside you, something waking up that's been quietly growing under pressure, under fire, and under silence. You've been walking through what felt like delay, but heaven calls it development. And now, all that waiting is about to make sense. You are not average. You are not overlooked. You are called. You are chosen. You are carrying something rare. And this moment is a divine signal that your shift is already underway. So before we dive into what's next, take this in. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are right on schedule for the breakthrough heaven already scheduled with your name on it. If something in you feels this, if your heart is pounding, your spirit is rising, then you know this word is for you. Let's lock in, chosen one. What you're about to hear isn't hype, it's alignment. Let's go, looking for purpose and peace? Hit subscribe and start the journey. What was labeled as loneliness was a preparation ground far beyond perception. A space not of punishment, but of purpose. A realm where ordinary moments concealed extraordinary transformation. While the world seemed to pass by, what was truly happening was a silent orchestration. In the background, unseen by human eyes, a framework was being laid brick by brick, not with noise, but with nuance. The absence of applause wasn't neglect, it was preservation. Not a cage, but a chrysalis, where ego unraveled and essence took form. This place stripped ambition of its masks and ambition of its noise, leaving only truth behind. No lights, no audience, only the raw, unfiltered training of the soul. In the stillness, a new language was learned, not of the tongue, but of intuition, of deep recognition. Decisions once guided by visibility began to be led by inner precision. What looked like delay was calibration. What felt like rejection was redirection. Not a wandering, but a weaving. The ones who walked away simply made room for alignment that had yet to arrive. Now, the silence that surrounded is echoing in the chambers of those once assigned to remain at a distance. Their role was to observe, not to interfere. They were not absent, they were waiting, watching the posture of perseverance without promise, the fidelity to something greater than approval. And now, the call to act has reached them. Their stillness is turning to movement, their distance to direction. Make your impact eternal. Join now and be a light in someone's darkness. Recognition is no longer waiting in the wings. That quiet place, once misunderstood, has fulfilled its design. What emerged in obscurity is stepping into its orchestration. And the ones who watched from the shadows, they are now stepping forward with purpose. Not to introduce something new, but to honor what has always been becoming. The era of being overlooked is ending, not with fanfare, but with fulfillment. The next page turns, not because of the crowd, but because of the calling. There are lives that appear overlooked, but in truth, they are being monitored with sacred precision. What seemed like wandering through shadows was actually a journey under sacred review, an invisible audit of the inner world. While everything around remained still, an unseen audience was attentively witnessing the smallest acts of conviction. Long before change arrived, long before doors opened, the weight of choices made in private was being measured. Not by applause, not by peers, but by those assigned from beyond comprehension. Quiet observers with instructions not to intervene, only to study. The quiet battles fought without applause, the loyalty that endured in silence, the resistance to compromise when no one seemed to be watching. None of it vanished into obscurity. Each step taken without visible reward, each hard decision embraced at personal cost, was logged in a registry not bound by earth. It was never about gaining favor through visibility. It was always about the shape of one's spirit when no one affirmed the effort. If your heart overflows with divine love, now is the moment to let it shine. Click the super thank you button on YouTube and give $50 or more to help carry God's light to others. Your gift will bless not only your life, but countless others. You are part of His sacred plan. Your kindness may be the answer to someone's prayer. Share your blessings and honor His kingdom. May His grace guide you always. Monitoring wasn't aimed at performance. It was a scan for internal structure. What choices were made when power was unavailable? What convictions remained when comfort was lost? Decisions that led to loneliness were weighed more heavily than those that earned approval. While others sought momentum through exposure, the real weight was found in stillness. And what looked like absence was surveillance, silent but sacred, not a punishment, but a preservation of trust. All this time, figures remained in the background, not passive, but purposeful, appointed not to interrupt, but to document evolution. Their task was not curiosity. It was confirmation. They needed to see not just survival, but depth. How well the heart held truth under tension. How quietly generosity bloomed where bitterness might have grown. What began as observation has now shifted into activation. The waiting has passed its threshold. Timing has caught up with preparation. They didn't move until now because the moment demanded synchronization. Not just your transformation, but theirs too. This wasn't only your shaping. It was theirs as well. And now, the gates are swinging open, not with chaos, but with clarity. What was once inaccessible is now aligned, not through striving, but through surrender, not by force, but by consistency. Now movement replaces watching. Those who once stood at a distance now carry keys. Access is no longer withheld. Assignments are matching integrity. The pause has ended. The pages are turning. This shift is not a reward, it's a reckoning. And it lands precisely when the soul is ready, not before. For the vision is yet for an appointed time. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry. Habakkuk 2 verse 3 KJV. It's like when a seed sits buried under the soil. No applause, no spotlight, no fanfare. But deep beneath the surface, something sacred is happening. You can't see the root stretching, reaching, anchoring, but heaven can. And when the time is right, not a moment too soon or too late, that seed pushes through the surface into light, into purpose, into divine visibility. That's what's happening to you. Chosen one. You've been hidden, but not forgotten. Buried, but not buried alive, buried on purpose. The season for sprouting has arrived, and now everything is shifting to make room for what you carry. The current has shifted, and certain lives, your life, is being quietly drawn toward long-ordained crossroads. This isn't coincidence. It's coordination from a higher realm. There's a pull in the spirit that logic can't explain. Connections are forming, not because you played the game or climbed the ladder, but because your spirit carries a frequency that was recognized before you ever walked into the room. You didn't audition for this. Heaven already cast you in the role. Make your impact eternal. Join now and be a light in someone's darkness. The ones assigned to your next aren't coming because of your following or your fame. They were drawn by the evidence of God on your life. They felt your presence before ever seeing your face. They've sensed something holy long before your name ever made it to their lips. Some of them caught glimpses of your journey in ways that felt like accidents. But the Spirit knows better. What looked random was actually revelation. This is what happens when alignment overtakes ambition. Heaven begins to stir people in places you haven't yet entered. Faces once blurred now become clear. Paths begin to cross without manipulation. Doors open that no man could orchestrate. And suddenly, the people who were never in your circle are drawn into your assignment. Not to take, not to attach, but to build. They are not arriving to applaud what you've done. They're coming to help carry what you've been called to complete. They don't move according to trends. They move according to timing. And the clock in the spirit just struck now. These aren't everyday introductions. They are sacred junctions where timing meets preparation. Connectors crafted not to complete, but to collaborate. Their arrival was not triggered by numbers or acclaim, but by a fragrance of authenticity, a depth cultivated away from platforms and lights. What drew them wasn't performance, it was posture. Not noise, but nuance. Not charisma, but calling. What you guarded in secret now demands space. What remained untold is beginning to resound. The patience under pressure, the purity maintained without recognition, the silence held with strength. These became the very language that summoned those destined to assist. If your heart overflows with divine love, now is the moment to let it shine. Click the super thank you button on YouTube and give $50 or more to help carry God's light to others. Your gift will bless not only your life, but countless others. You are part of His sacred plan. Your kindness may be the answer to someone's prayer. Share your blessings and honor His kingdom. May His grace guide you always. Now the quiet phase ends. The instructions have been released to those stationed in waiting. They are arriving with strategies and roles already mapped out. Some with frameworks and invitations, others with resources and opportunities molded for your path. And none of them will need convincing. No pitch, no pursuit. Their discernment has already settled the matter. This next season is not one of striving, but of receiving. An era where the doors open inward. Their reverence is not born of mystique, but of recognition. They see clearly what others missed. They are not here to alter the core. They are drawn by what's been cultivated, not to dilute it, but to support it. Their presence affirms what has already been affirmed in secret chambers. So steady your stance. Let doubt pass through without landing. Their arrival won't bring confusion. It will bring clarity. For the same unseen force that has shaped your path has also touched theirs. What you're encountering now is not random. It is manifestation made visible. And every arrival signals that the unfolding has already begun. The tension in your spirit isn't confusion. It's a signal that the framework around you can no longer sustain the magnitude within you. What once supported you now feels restrictive. What used to inspire has started to drain. This discomfort isn't accidental. It's an indication that your foundation is shifting, not because of failure, but because the phase it supported has reached completion. You've tried to settle back into routines that used to ignite you, but the spark doesn't catch. Familiar patterns feel foreign. The spaces that once felt nurturing have become narrow. It's not disobedience you're feeling, it's evolution. You're not unraveling, you're expanding. The ceiling over you hasn't lowered. You've risen beyond it. The very air in the room seems too thin to breathe, because your capacity has outgrown the confines. The connections around you may still be kind, but they no longer challenge or stretch you. The words spoken nearby fall flat, not because they lack weight, but because your ears are tuned to deeper frequencies now. There's a pressure inside, not from external demands, but from the call to step into more than survival, into significance. You're not escaping anything. You're responding to an invitation that your current context cannot accommodate. What's happening is not decay, it's transition. The landscape of your life is being redrawn. Old rhythms are being dismantled, not for destruction's sake, but to make space for precision. You're being invited to enter a dimension where intention meets intensity, where the internal shift demands an external reordering. What once stretched you has now become too shallow to contain your depth. The changes beginning are not about distance or relocation in the literal sense. They begin in the restructuring of your focus, the redefinition of your values, the shedding of worn-out identities. Your spirit is moving from survival mode to strategic momentum, from stagnation to release. The unease in your heart isn't failure. It's friction against boundaries, meant only for a season. That nudge you keep feeling isn't weakness. It's clarity forming beneath the surface. The edges of your old self are starting to fray, not from pressure, but from transformation. The roles you once played can no longer hold the person you're becoming. So the time has come to release your grip on the comfortable, to stop worshiping stability when movement is the mandate. This isn't a retreat, it's a redirection. The atmosphere is tightening because your next phase requires breathing room for what has matured inside you. The grace for the former setup is lifting, not to punish, but to position. You're being ushered into a landscape of broader influence, where your voice doesn't just echo, it architects. This isn't about leaving behind something broken. It's about entering into something built for your current size. Your reach must match your responsibility. Your container must meet your capacity. And that subtle ache in your chest is not regret. It's the rhythm of a breakthrough that's already begun. The transition you've sensed didn't begin with footsteps. It began with frequency. Long before any outer evidence arrived, a subtle shift occurred inside your core. Something ancient moved. Something sacred shifted. Without banners or notice, your internal compass adjusted, and the course of your life quietly recalibrated, not by force or circumstance, but by unseen direction. What once held you no longer does, not because it broke, but because you've outgrown its structure. You're not stuck, you've already advanced. The surface might still echo the old, but the root has already moved. This isn't stagnation. This is spiritual elevation disguised as waiting. The words you speak carry a different cadence now. Not echoes of wounds, but reflections of revelation. You don't perform for proximity anymore. You stand in truth. Applause no longer fuels you. Clarity does. Crowds aren't your compass. Conviction is. That internal upgrade was not imagined. It was alignment. Desires you once chased now feel distant. The noise that once captivated has gone quiet. Emptiness hides behind the familiar, and even joy feels too small for what's unfolding. You've stopped trying to force yourself into rhythms that no longer hold your resonance. Stillness has become your sanctuary, not because you're withdrawing, but because you're listening. You've started recognizing the sacred in silence. If your heart overflows with divine love, now is the moment to let it shine. Click the super thank you button on YouTube and give $50 or more to help carry God's light to others. Your gift will bless not only your life, but countless others. You are part of His sacred plan. Your kindness may be the answer to someone's prayer. Share your blessings and honor His kingdom. May His grace guide you always. Behaviors have changed, too. You no longer overextend yourself to be understood. You no longer barter your boundaries for belonging. The performative layers have shed themselves, and in their place remains something unshaken. You protect your space like sacred ground. You've stopped apologizing for peace and started walking with settled knowing. What others once defined in you, you now discern for yourself. Distractions no longer lure you. Draining spaces no longer hold power. You decline without explaining. You agree without hesitation. And that quiet certainty, that's what it feels like to walk from elevation, not toward it. Your perception has grown sharper. You catch things before they're spoken. You see intent behind action. You read atmosphere like text. This isn't cynicism, it's spiritual clarity. A sensitivity birthed from refinement, not fear. Your thoughts don't loop in insecurity like they used to. They leap forward in boldness. You plan from vision, not lack. You dream beyond logic, because your foundation is now built on insight, not impulse. This isn't merely mental growth. It's the evidence of strategic placement. What you've mentally released, your spirit already buried. Without fanfare, you've started loosening your grip on outdated rooms. You've sensed when presence became permission to leave. You don't wait for closure. You respond to internal release. This isn't something to be announced. This is something already accomplished. You've walked through thresholds in unseen ways. What you carried in silence is now echoing through spiritual corridors. You've wept over seeds that are just now sprouting. You've believed for outcomes your eyes never confirmed, but your faith never denied. Now, new doors respond, not because you forced them, but because you match them. The terrain ahead recognizes your frequency. This isn't hustle. This is harmony. You're not arriving. You've already been positioned. The space that once fit feels foreign because it's no longer yours to inhabit. You've shifted. The echo inside confirms it. What's unfolding isn't new, it's now. The recognition coming toward you is not rooted in convenience. It is anchored in alignment. What you carried did not come quickly, and what's arriving now was never meant to use you. It was always meant to affirm you. There are territories that have remained dormant, awaiting a particular resonance. You are that frequency. The depth developed in obscurity is about to be honored in full daylight, not for display, but for purpose. Your role has been preassigned, not as a substitute, not as a temporary solution, but as a catalyst. Not because you fit, but because you unlock. There are places that haven't shifted because you hadn't yet arrived. And now the moment has come. The invitation isn't about your availability. It's about your alignment with something long stalled. You're not being pursued for performance. You're being sought for presence. Not because you demanded attention, but because transformation follows you. Influential figures have sensed your essence without knowing your face. Your prayers have traveled farther than your presence. You didn't campaign to be seen. You stewarded what was hidden. And now, rooms are rearranging themselves to receive what you carry. Not for show, but for strategy. They're not coming for the appearance of depth. They're coming for the depth itself. They don't want the container. They're responding to the content shaped by fire and time. Make your impact eternal. Join now and be a light in someone's darkness. You didn't compromise for connection. You held your integrity when no one was clapping. You served without cameras. You healed quietly. You stayed when it cost you. And that version of you, the consistent, resilient, consecrated version, is what's calling them in. Not your appearance, not your resume, but the substance that's been refined through surrender. This time, the door's opening will not demand you to shrink. You will not have to translate your truth into something more palatable. You will not be asked to dim so others feel brighter. These new alignments aren't seekers of your labor. They're stewards of your legacy. They are not threatened by your voice. They are humbled by your journey. They aren't chasing your shine. They're drawn to the shadow you've walked through and survived. There will be no convincing, no posturing, no bending. You will simply be. And that will be more than enough. What once attracted leeches will now attract lifters. These aren't collectors of talent. They are protectors of purpose. They won't strip you down to what benefits them. They will cover what's sacred, guard what's rare, and water what's growing. You will know the shift, not because it's loud, but because it feels safe. You will feel invited, not inspected. Called upon, not extracted. Seen without being reduced. Empowered without being drained. These are not flattered admirers. They are aligned visionaries. They do not arrive with empty praise. They carry intentionality. And the space you're being drawn to. It will not interpret your strength as arrogance, nor your wisdom as a threat. It will not echo your voice into silence. It will respond to it with movement. It will not pull from your reservoir until it's dry. It will refill what you pour, not as a transaction, but as a shared mission. What's coming is not demand. It's devotion, not consumption. Celebration, not exploitation. Elevation. This transition is not just about a new location. It's a recalibration of lineage. What's unfolding reaches far beyond convenience or career goals. It is a sacred disruption designed to rewrite long-standing patterns and reintroduce purpose into places where hope was once buried. The shifts stirring now are the result of timelines intersecting, decisions aligning, and promises long delayed beginning to rise from their silence. This isn't random motion, it's strategy crafted in eternity. The movement is not to make life easier, it's to make the calling undeniable. You're being placed in a position where ancient prayers converge with present obedience. This shift is a bridge between what was endured and what will be birthed. Old limitations are being traded for a higher weight of purpose. Familiar comforts are being exchanged for eternal consequence. And what begins with your willingness will echo through generations that follow. You'll notice the resistance intensified not because you were off course, but because the course itself is now too critical to leave untouched. What you're stepping into carries ripple effects that will dissolve outdated dysfunctions and awaken new possibilities. What was blocked for others is about to break open because your hands were chosen to carry the release. This move has been sealed, not for applause, but for alignment. It will require a leaving, a departure not only from places, but from former versions of self. You're not returning to what used to fit. You're walking into what you've been sculpted for. The terrain ahead will stretch your faith, yes, but it will also anchor your identity. It won't mirror your past. It will unlock your next. And while there may be moments where the familiar fades, you're not wandering. You're being sent. This move is not motivated by optics. It's an answer to what has been building for years. The soil you're being planted in has been waiting for the exact seed you carry. The blueprint is unfolding with people who don't just recognize your potential. They're prepared to protect it. What you refined in the hidden place is being called forth now, not to be admired, but to activate. And you won't need to chase relevance or seek approval. The evidence of your preparation will speak before you do. Doors are opening, not by persuasion, but by providence. They come with access, not because of branding or noise, but because your assignment can no longer be contained where you were. What's ahead requires partnership with those who hear what you hear and feel what you carry. They will not compete with your fire. They will help steward it. The support coming is not accidental, it's synchronized. These are not surface-level allies. They are co-laborers with a divine charge to multiply impact. So release your grip on what is ending. The next is not asking for permission, It's unfolding as planned. The movement isn't impulsive, it's inherited. You're being summoned, not simply seen. Not because of a title, but because of trust. This step is more than advancement, it's activation. And yes, it will come suddenly. It may interrupt your rhythm, but that's how divine orders arrive, with clarity disguised as chaos. Stay anchored. Stay sensitive. The timing is intentional. You are not just part of the moment. You are carrying the mantle for a movement. This isn't just another chapter. This is an unlocking of legacy, of answers, of divine alignment. What you're entering has already been cleared ahead of you, not to elevate your name, but to awaken the promise buried in the ground before you ever arrived. You are not adjusting. You are fulfilling. The earth has made room. The future has been waiting, and heaven has already gone ahead.